Uh, can we record this too, John?
Yeah, we will send the recording link out to everyone.
Great, thanks.
And on that, I will go. Oh, you already hit the recording. Thank you, whoever did that.
The slide looks good.
That's our barometer. As long as that title slide looks good, I mean, what could go wrong? All right, so good morning, everyone. We are very excited to finally get hands-on with Kaltura. Kaltura is Rider's Illumira replacement. It's our new video repository system. While it's technically replacing Illumira, I don't want to shy away from the fact that Kaltura is a completely different platform. Illumira was really just there to host your videos and embed them right into Canvas. And while it could do some other stuff, and some of our WCC folks might have used it for more advanced features, there's really no comparison with what Kaltura can do. While we are really just scratching the surface today on the feature set, we'll at least tease some of the things that you will be able to utilize within Kaltura. At the core of it, it is still going to be the functionality that it still has that core functionality of you can upload your lecture material, you can utilize assets from the More or tablet libraries into your classrooms right within Canvas. But there's definitely some cool stuff that we're going to be able to do with this platform. So Corelli and I are going to be driving most of today. He Young's here as well to be able to answer questions. Since it's a larger group, for those who remember when we were doing the trainings in the spring and the summer, we are going to kind of go old school and ask that everyone uses the Q&A chat feature, basically. So in other words, just open up the chat if you have questions and start putting them into there. Corelli and He Young are going to be manning those chats for me today. And then they'll be able to interrupt me and kind of go back and go forth and see how we're doing. One thing I do want to remind everybody, especially I know that it's a new platform and you're going to have questions, and that's fine. We expect it. If you email one of us directly, it is going to take a while to get you an answer. And so please utilize, and most of the time we might not even necessarily be the folks who your question is directed towards. So please continue to use the help desk for all of your questions by emailing helpdesk@Rider. So today, like I mentioned, it's going to be a shorter feature set, but really just the basics. We're going to go in depth a little bit on what Kaltura exactly is and some of the other features that are available, as well as the demo of what do you actually really need to know for your J-term class, especially. So like I mentioned, Kaltura is the replacement of Illumira, and like Illumira, it directly integrates right within all of your Canvas courses. That said, the integration within Canvas is a lot deeper, we call. And so what we mean by that is, if you remember with Illumira, there was some functionality that you actually couldn't do within Canvas. And so if you were one of the people who like to change the thumbnail of videos, maybe you even wanted to trim some of the videos or edit some of the metadata or some of the descriptions and some of the advanced functionality, you couldn't do that in Canvas. You had to go to that other URL. That's no longer going to be the case with Kaltura. Almost anything you will ever have to do to your media, and your media, you'll hear me use that phrase a lot. I mean, your MP4 video files, maybe your just sound files, if you're doing podcasting or anything like that, all of that media, you will be able to edit all of the settings right within Canvas. And so it really makes it that one-stop shop and a lot more seamless and a lot just generally easier for you to utilize right within Canvas. What's interesting about Kaltura is it actually has multiple products within the platform. And so what I mean by that is, again, and you're going to see me comparing Kaltura to Illumira a lot just because that's what we used to have. And I know that that's what most of you are familiar with. But Kaltura is very different in the sense that it's not just going to be that video hosting within Canvas. While it does that, and that's obviously the first and foremost, there's actually another tool called Express Recorder or Express Media, something like that, that students will be able to utilize if they're, say, maybe working on a discussion board, or maybe you just want them to be able to give you a quick oral or video presentation back as an assignment. All of that's baked right into Canvas. There's also a third component that is called Kaltura Capture. And this we are really excited about. And this is going to be what tomorrow's training really focuses on. I know the majority of you, I think, are registered for tomorrow as well. But Kaltura Capture is actually a separate product that you will be able to download right onto your computers. And so if in the spring, or maybe even for a couple of years now, you've used products like Screencast-O-Matic, Camtasia for those who maybe were some of the early adopters, Loom, or those other types of products, or maybe you were just using Zoom to record a lot of your lectures over the summer to get ready for the fall. Kaltura Capture is actually going to substitute all of that, where you will have a licensed product right on your computer that you will be able to do screen recordings, video recordings, audio recordings. If you have a document camera, or if you have something really fancy set up where you have an iPad over top of a piece of paper, all of that will be able to get achieved and captured right within this lecture capture program. So we're super stoked to get you guys into all of that tomorrow. And then finally, a fourth component of Kaltura that we are definitely not going to touch on anytime soon. Our trainings are going to really be focused on how it integrates within Canvas, but we're actually going to essentially be building an internal YouTube site at Rider. And so that product is called Media Space. And for now, there's not going to be too much classroom applications for that product while we roll this out over the next semester. Where you will utilize it somewhat is we are going to be migrating all of the TLC trainings as well as the how-to videos that we create for everybody over to Media Space. And we'll touch on more about that at the end of today's session. Quayle, any questions so far?
No, you're good.
Cool. So while I joked about this at the beginning of the call, I do just want to call out the fact that this is a new product for me, Quayle, and He Young, just like it is for everybody here. And so with that, we probably won't know the answer to a lot of questions. There are a ton of brand new features that are really going to impact the engaging capabilities that you have for students within the classroom. Some of them that I want to just call out here, because we will see them somewhat demo today, are the fact that all of your videos will actually start becoming captioned automatically at the 80% accuracy rate using artificial intelligence, which is super cool. And it makes it super easy to then go back and just make minor edits to your captioning. This is really important for students because within Kaltura videos, students will actually be able to start searching your transcripts. And so if they're confused about a certain component of your lecture, they could quickly just type in the search bar what the topic was and jump right to that point in the video. There's also going to be the ability to integrate quizzes within video. And all of that actually will even tie back to the Canvas gradebook. So for those who are worried if are your students actually watching your videos, or maybe you know that it's something really important you want them to grasp, you'll actually be able to start putting quiz questions in the middle of their video. So students, in order to even get credit for that assignment, actually have to watch your entire video, which I know has been a request we've gotten a lot, especially over the summer. And so we're really excited to be able to deliver upon that feature request. In probably closer to February, there's going to be OIT is going to release an integration with Zoom. And so for any Zoom meetings that you have recorded, instead of that media going to the Zoom cloud, and then you either have to go and get that special link, or maybe you want to download it, edit the video, and go back, all of our Zoom cloud recordings are going to actually end up in Kaltura. And so don't worry, that doesn't mean all of your students are going to be able to see all of your videos, but it's going to allow for a lot easier ability just to start getting your media shared out. And so there's a ton of other features on this list. We're really these are kind of the top ones that Quayle and He Young and I kind of called out. There's a lot more we're really excited to start rolling out to everybody, but we'll get there kind of when we get there. So like I mentioned, today's training is really for the foreseeable future, January, February, and even March, all of our trainings are really going to be focusing on how Kaltura functions within Canvas. And so with that, we do have a pretty big, somewhat big announcement with how you access Canvas. There is going to be a change coming at Rider. By the time students are back in J-term, you won't have to worry about this. It's going to be a seamless cutover. You won't even have to do anything different. However, for today, tomorrow, and really throughout the rest of the next 2 weeks, the rest of December, you will have to actually start getting to Canvas a new way. And so that way is going to be by going to a new URL, canvas.rider.edu. Some people actually have been using this way the entire time. They never realized that it was actually taking them to a different URL. But a lot of folks remember the rider.instructure.com link. That's been the way that you access Canvas at Rider since its inception a few years back. And so there's a lot of reasons behind this. most of which are very boring on the technical side. If you're curious, you can come and ask us and we would be happy to explain it. But it is going to impact a lot of different things, more so on the student side in a positive experience. It's going to cut down on those cookie errors some folks were starting to get, especially over the summer. I know that that was an issue, as well as the way that some of our other services integrate within Canvas. Any questions on that, or why we have to do this, or frankly, how do I get there?
Yeah, John, I just posted the question. You said today is when we're going to start using the URL.
If you are doing any of your playing around within Canvas, excuse me, within Kaltura, we want you to start using this URL, correct?
So we can still I'm still able to access my old Canvas courses the old way. It's just for Kaltura.
Correct. And don't worry, if you somehow you go to the old URL and you make changes, it's not two different instances. It's just the way that you access it. So nothing, like none of your work is going to disappear.
Cool.
You might just notice that, and I know some folks some of the early birds were trying to play around with Kaltura before today, and you emailed me saying, hey, I tried to get there and it didn't work. It says like access denied or something crazy. That was why. And like I mentioned, towards the latter half of next week, there's actually going to be a transition we do on the technical side in the back end, where even if you have rider.instructure.com bookmark, it's going to take you to this new URL. Cool. All right, so let's start jumping in. What we're actually going to be going over today, introduction to these two different concepts, the media gallery as well as my media, ways that we're going to be adding media into your Canvas courses, whether that be an MP4, MP3, a video file, audio file, so on and so forth. We'll go through the entire workflow of what it takes to upload a content into your Canvas course. We are going to touch on, and when I say touch on, I mean very, very softly scratch the surface with how the functionality of editing some of the information of videos works. We have two different sessions dedicated to just that. We have Canvas Intermediate and Canvas Advanced, where essentially all we're going to be doing is showing you guys how to manipulate the content that you upload. So if there's a button that you're really curious about, what does this do? Don't worry, we will get there. We really just want to take this in nice incremental steps since it's such a new product to really get everybody comfortable with it. The router switchboard is calling my cell phone. I'm really curious if that's saying that we're having a snow day.
Yeah, they just called mine too. Snow day. Okay.
All right. So, I mean, at this point, we'll take a quick pause just to read the email that Ryder will be closing at noon today, which also applies to remote work. Quayle and I will be here after noon if you have any outstanding questions about Kaltura, though. All right, with that, so let's go ahead and let's get started. So let me go and jump over to Canvas. All right, you guys seeing my screen share?
Yes.
Beautiful. Now, I apologize. You are going to see me looking down a lot just because we do have an outline that we're trying to stick with. And since this is new for us, we don't have it memorized yet. I just want to make sure we touch on everything. All right. So first off, I'm in a Canvas sandbox course right now. And if you notice at the top of my browser, I'm here by going to canvas.rider.edu. And this could be any of your old courses as well as a new course. And if you have maybe a sandbox or kind of one of those dummy testing sites, you can use all of those. And if we notice on the left-hand side navigation pane, I have a new link here that's called My Media. For a lot of folks, it might be at the very bottom of this page. It is by default, My Media will now be turned on for all of your courses. Anything that you upload personally will then be accessible there. However, students will not see any of your content within the My Media. They're going to see their content, which is why we chose to keep the nomenclature as My Media, meaning the user's own media site. There's a second link you might see time to time. I do not have it enabled right now. However, if you were to go into the course navigation pane, you're going to see a new link called Media Gallery. Media Gallery is a little bit different than how the Illumira video browser link used to work, but also somewhat similar. For our purposes today, as well as some of the immediate training that we're going to be doing with everybody, as well as even for your JTRM courses, we're going to be focusing on everything in My Media. And so for now, we're just going to put Media Gallery on pause. So I'll go ahead and click on My Media, and you'll see a few videos that I have uploaded here. We were hoping that all of your content from Illumin was going to appear here as well for today's training, but unfortunately, we've heard from a lot of faculty that that is not the case. And so we can talk a little bit more about that at the end of today's session. However, apologies for that. Quaylen and Hee-Young thought that that was going to be there. So none of this is my Illumin content. This is some of the content that we've been testing and playing around with to get ready for today. When you log in, maybe you'll get lucky and you'll see some of your old stuff. But for the most part, folks are seeing the seagull because that apparently
First,
represents no media.
just a reminder, John, that they'll need to authorize the first time.
Thank you, Corley. That's right. So the first time you click on that My Media link, and for folks that I can see are following along today, you will see a scary screen saying that this is a new tool with a big red button saying authorize or cancel. Go ahead and click the authorized or yes or allow, depending on how your browser acts. This is good. Don't worry. It's just something the first time you log into it, since it's an LTI, similar to if you're using any textbook put integrations or publishers, or if you're using the multi-tool, you'll have to click on that allow button or authorize. So once we get there, we'll be brought to a screen similar to this. And what we're going to be focusing on right now is how we upload media. And so for that, all of us, our first step in this process will be clicking on the Add New button, where we'll see this drop down. So really quick, I'm just going to go over some what these mean at a high level, but we're going to be focusing on media upload today. Express Capture is, like I mentioned, that tool that where students and even faculty can quickly record a video or audio file. We'll be covering this in a little bit in tomorrow's training, but mostly in the Canvas intermediate training. There's ways that you can actually integrate publicly available YouTube videos right within Kaltura, and we will be demoing that very quickly today. Kaltura Capture, which we're excited to go in depth tomorrow on here. You can use that new program right on your local computer to record media, as well as Video Quiz, which we're not going to be talking about today, but we will be going over in the Canvas Advanced session, as well as the engaging students with Kaltura. So like I mentioned, let's go ahead with our workflow or our demo for today, which is just going to be taking an MP4 lecture file or how-to video that we have on our computers and uploading it to Kaltura. So we'll go to Add New and then Media Upload. If you have your desktop open, you can drag and drop the file right on over, or we can click on the Choose a File to Upload button here.
Ask a quick question. Should we be, if we're on our Canvas with the correct URL so that we're in Kaltura, should we be seeing what you're showing us right now? Because when I clicked upload media, it's a blank screen on Canvas.
All right. We'll definitely take a look at that at the end, Ivan.
Okay.
I'm not sure what's going on there. It might just be a cookie issue.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and upload a video that I have saved here on my desktop. And it's an MP4. And so that's going to upload in the background. As far as the uploading process and the uploading time, believe it or not, there really is not that much of a difference between Kaltura and Illumin. Kaltura is a little bit faster, but all of these platforms end up being the same. It's really dependent on how long your video is and the quality in which your video was recorded. But we can see my upload is complete. If I wanted to, I could change the name of the file. I'm okay with that name so far. If you remember, a really big pet peeve of ours with the description field, if you remember in Illumin, that was mandatory. And so even though you couldn't see the video description, you had to put a description there. That's actually no longer the case. Description is an optional field now. And so I don't really need anything more for this particular video because the title is self-explanatory. So I'll go ahead and leave that. But a new field that I do want to point out are tags. And so Kaltura does not have folders for its storaging. However, what it does utilize is the tagging function. And so some of you might be used to this to some other websites or maybe storage ways that you've utilized in the past. But what tags essentially does is allow you to group your media into different categories by searchable or kind of check marks items. And so as far as what makes up a tag, that's really up to you. At kind of a high level, what I think a lot of folks might end up doing is maybe for Psych 100, you were to put PSY 100. That way you can easily kind of congregate all of your intro level, all of your videos for the one course. This is a how-to video, so I'll just do how-to, which I have already. Google and Zoom, because that's kind of the three things, the three functions or features that we go over in this video. If you're confused on tags, don't worry. We're happy to walk you through that more in one-on-one and kind of talk you through what we think might work for your setup. I'm going to ignore the co-editors and co-publishers field right now. This is an intermediate or advanced functionality that we'll talk more about that at a later training. And publishing status, we'll go ahead and just leave it on private. Yes, Jamie, you can go back and add tags later. All right, let's go ahead and click on the save button. I'm getting the evil eye since I jumped. You know, I asked you to look at the chat and I'm looking at
Let me be Vanna.
All right, once I click on save, we can see I get a little confirmation box here saying your changes have been saved. So let's go ahead. I can go back to My Media by clicking on the Go to My Media button, or I'll just go back to My Media here on the left-hand side. Depending on how long your video takes is how long it's going to take to process. Rule of thumb, the conservative estimate is however long your video is, take approximately 75 to 95% of that video length, and that's how long processing can take. So for whatever reason, if you're uploading, say, like an hour-long movie, it can take 45 minutes, if not more, to process that movie. But so since this was a short video, it looks like it's already processed. So I can click on the title, and that's going to bring us into the video. And we can quickly play it. It might be a little pixelized since I'm not optimizing screen share for Zoom right now, but it is functioning. And so that's how we know we have successfully uploaded a video into Kaltura. Now, students can't see it yet. That's going to be the next part of what our demo is, but I want to take a quick pause and see if there's any questions that are jumping out to us right now. And Quayle, let me know if there's anything that I should go back and touch upon.
Yeah, I don't have anything in the chat.
Okay. So before we go into how are we making these videos available to students, I want to go and touch on another way to upload media or integrate media into our Canvas courses. And that was that YouTube option that I spoke of before. And so what we mean by the way of Kaltura being able to integrate YouTube videos, because you might be saying, well, why can't I just take the YouTube embed code and put it into my course? Or better yet, even simpler, copy and paste the video URL. For the most part, yes, the way that you've been maybe utilizing YouTube within your courses will continue to work. But while we're not going to be going into everything that you can do with Kaltura today, there's a lot more we can do with video once it's in Kaltura. So for example, if we have a video on YouTube and we want to be able to do some of that Canvas quizzing functionality for the video, we'll want to integrate it with the Kaltura. And so let's go ahead and just quickly go touch upon how do we integrate a YouTube video into Kaltura. So I'll go into My Media again. And we'll go back to the blue Add New button. And instead of doing media upload, we'll click on YouTube this time around. And so we see a very brief page, small page that just says, insert the URL from YouTube. So if we head over to YouTube, oops, sorry, I froze. So if we head over to YouTube and look for a video that we want to integrate into our course, we'll go up and just take our URL at the top of the navigation bar, Control-C, Command-C, or right-click copy, and head back into Kaltura. And then within the area that you have to paste, you can do a Control-V, Command-V, or a right-click paste and put that URL in. We'll go ahead and click on Preview. And what that's going to do is it's going to go out to YouTube and try and put that media in, make sure that it's compatible. And if we see in this little preview here that it's going ahead and playing without a problem, we're good to go. The name is going to pull over automatically as well as the description. I might not need all of the description that was originally in that YouTube video. I might want to change that around for students. I can continue to tag items here as well. So we'll do how to. And what video is this that I pull? Oh, Smartsheet. All right, that's going to work for these topics. Publishing status, I'll go ahead and keep it in private and click on save. So what I want to point out with this YouTube integration, this is not downloading the video from YouTube and then saving it in Canvas or saving it in Kaltura for that matter. So if the video is no longer going to be made available on YouTube by the publisher, then you'll no longer be able to utilize it in your course, just like you might have functioned in your courses before. So at the end of the day, if it's not your media, that owner still gets to control how it works. One other piece I do want to mention, the videos on YouTube are only going to be able to be pulled over, assuming that owner of the YouTube video has not turned off this thing called Allow Embed. And so for the most part, all of your publicly available YouTube videos will allow for this. But if you were to run into an issue where you're getting this weird error message, it's actually because the YouTube owner said, I don't want you to be able to play this anywhere outside of YouTube. To be honest, where you end up seeing this a lot is if the owner of the video is trying to monetize off the video and they have ads on the video, that's where you tend to see that they are turning off the ability to externally embed content. And so if that's the case, you have to go back to the old school way of just give students that URL and it'll get them there. You will not be able to utilize that advanced functionality of quizzing, searchable transcripts, and so on and so forth. I'm going to exit out of my media now, and let's pivot to the next topic in this series. Well, we've uploaded our content, but how the heck are students going to be watching it? And so the way that we utilize video within our Canvas course can definitely depend on how you are structuring your course. And while Illumira gave you the flexibility of maybe embedding it within a content page and then having it, maybe you are having students access the video just by clicking on the Illumira button on the left-hand side, we want to start moving away from that old way of just having Illumira on the left-hand side. There's ways we can get around it. There's other ways we can enter Kaltura content within Canvas. But for simplicity, as well as the best experience of the user and the best experience of Quayle and I being able to support everybody when they have questions, we're all going to be working off of kind of the same way right now. And that is going to be embedding your video within a content page. So right now, let's pretend all of our classes are structured in modules. They don't have to be, but for simplicity, I have that set up. And if we go and we see Kaltura video embed, I've created a blank page for our training today. If you don't remember how to create a blank page, if you already have your module set up, all we have to do is click on the plus icon here. Instead of adding an assignment, we'll click on adding a page and then new page. And let's just give this a page similar to name on what our video is about, and that's Google, Calendar, and Zoom. And we'll add the item. Let's go ahead and enter that new page I just created. And we have our blank page. For those whose first questions that they're having right now, like I can see some of you, hey, I use City Labs with all my fancy templates. Can I still do that? Yes, I'll show you that really quickly. Right now, let's just work off of the basics that we have a blank page within Canvas. We'll go up and click on the edit button and go to our rich content editor. So quick pause. If you're looking at my screen and you notice that my little toolbar up here looks a little bit different than what you're used to, or maybe since yesterday morning you tried to edit a page within Canvas, and if you had not turned on the new RCE experience, you're seeing a little bit different of a screen. We have finally turned on by force the new rich content editor within Canvas. Canvas is actually depreciating their old version of the RCE around January 10th or January 13th. And so we went ahead to make sure that everybody was going to have the same experience come J-term. We went ahead and turned that on for everybody. If you have absolutely no clue what I'm talking about right now, don't worry, you don't have to know about any of that. All you have to know is that once we get to this editing button, we're gonna go ahead and look for our Kaltura icon. The Kaltura icon is gonna be in the toolbar by default for everybody. If it's not, look for the little plug icon. That's for the plugin tool. But the Kaltura icon, Corelli, what did we say that the Kaltura icon looks like now? I can't remember. I used to call the Illumira icon
Rainbow
a little
sprinkles.
a rainbow sprinkles. That's right. So that is the new official name for the Kaltura icon, rainbow sprinkles. So we'll click on the Kaltura icon and we're going to see a new button, a new pop-up show up, Embed Kaltura Media. And so when we go into Embed Kaltura Media, we'll be able to look for all of the videos that we've uploaded. If you're like some of our friends who have uploaded well over 275 pieces of media into Illumira, eventually all of that content will be here in Kaltura. We just don't know when. But what you can do is search for your video by title. If you were used to trying to search for your media in Illumira, you might remember the fact that the search wasn't really friendly. The search in Kaltura actually makes sense. I kind of equivocated to the old Writer website search versus the new Writer website search. And even though you might not like the new Writer website search, in the new Writer website, the search bar actually works now. That's what Kaltura is going to be like. The search bar actually works. And so this search bar here is going to search the title of your name of your video. Then it's going to search the tags of your videos. And so that's where that tagging concept comes into play. And then finally, it's actually going to look and search the text of what was said in your videos. And so if you uploaded something and for whatever reason, you can't remember what the name of it was, maybe it's something that wasn't tagged before, like your Illumira content. When in doubt, if you can at least think of a couple of words or phrases that you had within your video, that content will come up via the search. Pretty cool. So let's go ahead. I found, and by the way, it's going to by default order everything in descending order by creation date. I can also do a quick search here and change my search just like kind of in Gmail to creation date ascending. If you were to upload your media, I could sort it by updated, as well as alphabetically A to Z, Z to A, so on and so forth.
Can I just interrupt for a second, John?
Yeah.
So Lucian had a question about library content. Can you just point out that the media gallery tab is also there? So when you're embedding content you've uploaded, it shows up on my media, but we were informed that library content will show up on this media gallery tab.
Thank you, Corelli, for that note. I was going to go over that later, but that now is a good time to actually do that because I know a lot of the JTerm folks here today are going to be using library content. And so, yes, like Corelli mentioned yesterday, we were told that any of the stuff, any of the pieces of assets that have been assigned to you by the library will appear in that My Media tab here, excuse me, at the Media Gallery tab here at the top. And you can see yesterday afternoon, they asked us to do a quick test for them. And I have The Lion King. And so a part of our new training, we're actually going to start watching The Lion King. I think it's going to help with attendance. What do you guys think? All right, so let's go back and head with My Media. And Zoom Google Calendar is what our case is today. And let's go ahead and click on the embed button. And all we have to do is click on that embed button. And it's going to take our video from Kaltura and put it right into a Canvas content page for students to be able to watch and utilize. And since we're doing a training today, it's going to take its time because Murphy's Law has been great in 2020. And so we'll patiently wait. All right, and then our video will appear there. You might see a little thumbnail preview of your video. It depends on what your internet speed is. Mine's a little slow today, so it took a little while to show up. But we'll see the video show up here. Then we'll go down to the bottom, and then we can click on Save or Save and Publish, depending on what we want to do with the content. Let's just preview it before we cut students loose and click on Save. And now we'll see our video appear there. Let me optimize for screen share. I'm gonna keep it on mute for now. But once we click on the play button, we'll see that the content is now, the video will now play in Illumira. Questions on what we just walked?
Said Illumira.
Oh, so here's the other disclosure that I meant to give. So one, Corelli and I barely know Kaltura right now, so give us time. Two, you're going to hear us call it Illumira, Kaltura. I think I've called it Zoom in some of our pre-trainings before. And then I don't know where this came from. I called it Vimeo once.
Mhm.
So if you are confused, this is one of those times, feel free to shout out, what are you talking about? That way I catch myself, because I don't even hear it anymore. And so a few things that I want to call out within our player now. So this player, and by player, I mean, what does this little thing look like here? We call that the player. The player might change what it looks like between now and JTerm. You might see like the little rider icon show up here, or some other buttons we'll go over later. We'll talk about more of that at a later date. But going from left to right, we have the play pause button. We have the mute unmute button, as well as the ability to control the sound within just that one video. Closed captioning, which, if you've noticed, without me even clicking on closed captioning, it's on by default, because what it's doing is taking that 80% accuracy artificial intelligence caption and putting it there for students. You can turn that off by toggling it on and off by clicking on the button. If there's multiple languages available for the captioning, students would be able to toggle between those languages as well. 1x, if I click on that, you'll see a few different speeds here. These are actually the playback speeds. And so if you're a fast talker like I am, students can slow you down, or if you just go on and on and on, students can even speed you up. And so not necessarily, we can go into whether or not students should be doing this another day, but it is a feature and it is a function, and believe it or not, it's a highly utilized function as well. The third button on the right-hand side is going to be the full screen button. By clicking on full screen, I can toggle in and out of full screen. And then we have the Kaltura icon, which, like I mentioned, right now says Kaltura. It will switch to Rider. There's another button that we hope to get here eventually that's not here today that I want to quickly touch on. And that's kind of an interchangeable word. Sometimes you might refer to it as mirroring, AirPlay, or Chromecast, or Cast Media. What we will be able to utilize eventually within our courses is students, if they wanted to, could actually take the video that they have in Canvas and put it right up on their TV, or put it right up on their monitor, depending on what brand it is. And so this is really dependent on what the student has at home, but it is a cool feature that we're really excited to be able to offer students, kind of as that next level classroom e-learning experience. So that was the top half of the player. Let's talk a little bit about what we see down here. And so if you notice, I now have a search bar, a little download button, a print button, and then a show transcript button. So if I click on show transcript, and I'll play the video, and let me let it run for a second. If you notice, as time goes on, different sections of the video are being highlighted. And that's actually corresponding to where the speaker is in the video. So let me unmute for a second.
Already signed in, click on the blue sign in button. Follow the prompts that will either say authorize.
So if as students are watching lectures, they will actually be able to see the transcript of what you're saying in real time. That way they can follow along. Some folks find that they can actually do a little bit better and comprehend better as they're reading the videos. Would a good teacher proofread those transcripts? We'll talk about that in a minute. Because if you notice, I did not proofread this yet, and there's already a couple of words that it didn't catch exactly. So we are going to talk about what kind of best practices is for this. But the main point that we're trying to drill home is this Kaltura platform really is the next level of, at any point, I can just click on a word or click on a phrase in the video. And if you notice, the video is going to jump to that point. Students could search the transcript of the video as well to jump to that point. So if you, not that any of our colleagues here are recording long lectures like we don't want you to, everybody's going to do 5 to 15 minutes, right? But say you did upload an 1.5 hour long lecture and a student is just trying to remember when you talked about that concept, they could type it in and try and jump to that point right in the video. So let's talk about what we accomplished in the last 2 kind of main milestones in our workflow. We enabled My Media by clicking on My Media, and then we clicked on the red authorize button. We went into the My Media on the left-hand side navigation pane. We uploaded our media. We then We then went and we created a content page and we embedded our video using the embed button. And then we quickly showed off how you can search the transcript. Questions on where we are right now?
Yeah, John, I got a question about that download button.
Yes.
So that will download the video to the student's computer.
Sorry, I forgot to go back and talk about that. So this download button is only about the transcript.
Or the
So
transcript.
students can actually download the transcript, or they can instantly print the transcript to their computer. I'm sorry. Thank you for calling me out on that, Ivan. I meant to touch on that.
Is that disableable?
At this time, I don't know. I don't believe it's something that was ever advised by us by other schools to disable.
Boy, I want it disabled for me.
So the reason being that I think it became not a big thing anymore for folks is because there are actually numerous plugins that have been out for a while now where students are able to, on Chrome, go and actually have that done automatically for them.
To transcribe it? Okay.
Mhm.
All right, I just got to think about this.
Yeah.
My students have to watch my video lectures and take notes, and that active engagement, the hand-mind engagement to help them learn it. And then of course they can use those notes for their exam. So I don't want them just printing out a transcript of my lecture.
No, that makes sense. And that's something we'll definitely take back and talk about. And let me see, I'm definitely going to look and see if we can disable that. And if that's one of those things where that's just how the functionality works, we'll definitely talk to you about either an alternative way we can go about that, or better yet, how we can utilize different functionality of Kaltura. Say, instead you have to put a quiz in, and if they don't watch the quiz, they can't move forward type of thing. Excuse me, they don't watch the video, they can't move forward.
Worst case scenario on exam day, I'll just have to disable all the videos so they can't search for the answer in my lecture, right?
Yeah, no, but
I've already got ways of preventing them from doing that via Google.
And these are different things that as they come up, come and talk to us, because one, some of it we might not have thought of yet. And two, there might be that we're very well aware and we have thought about it. And here's alternative ways that we go about that. But good question, Ivan. Any other questions about that workflow so far?
John, I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry, I'm still not clear on a couple of questions that I asked before.
Sure.
And maybe you'll be getting to those or just missed it, but I have full-length films that sometimes I have students watch, or full-length videos, and I cannot download those from DVD. That they still have to be brought to the library.
Correct.
Okay. And the second question is, once they are brought to the library, are they then put into Media Gallery?
Yes. So let me go over, and actually what I was about to do, Frank, is I wanted to just walk through the workflow again, since it's the first time we're all seeing this together.
Mhm.
So let's pretend that instead of this time me going and taking a video that I'm going to upload from my computer, let's pretend we just got an email from the library saying, hey, this video is now available to everybody. And that video is, because why not, The Lion King.
Okay.
So let's go back to our homepage, and let's decide where we want this in our course. And for those who are using City Labs or some of the design tools, Design Plus templates, here's where we can show off how that functionality works as well. So I'll go to the content page that I either already created or just created today. And let's say I want that video right in my objectives section. I'll click on the edit button. And you see, I still have all of my content with the template that was utilized. Frank, don't worry about having the template there for your case. But we'll just put our cursor where we want the video to be. And again, we're going to look for the Kaltura button and click on the Kaltura button. If this was a library asset, library owned asset, like a movie or a full feature film that you're trying to show, this time, instead of clicking on My Media, we're going to click on the Media Gallery. And within the Media Gallery, any of the content that the library has assigned to you will now appear here. And so in this case, the library gave me access to The Lion King. So I'll go ahead and click on the blue or teal embed button. And then we'll give it a second and the video will appear. I'll click on save. And if we look down, we notice the entire length of this is 1 hour, 58 minutes and 14 seconds. So that certainly looks like a movie, and I'll quickly play it just to make sure that it's playing and that there are no issues. So Frank, that's how you're going to get your movies into Canvas. So that makes a little bit more sense.
A little bit, yeah. Now, if they're already in Illumari, do they automatically get switched over?
So any of your personal collections are supposed to be automatically switched over.
Okay.
The library is working the best that they can to go back and see what you've done in the past, but the same process is going to apply for library content. You will fill out the streaming media request form on the Rider website.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever experience you guys are used to after that with the library, I know it can depend upon your discipline, but that will continue.
Okay.
And so just as a reminder, if I go to rider.edu, I'm just going to start streaming media requests and see if it comes up. We see it comes right on up, streaming media request form. And this is also available on the rider.edu/library site. You'll go ahead and fill out this form with all of the applicable information for the asset you're trying to get a hold of. And then the library will be in touch to go through the rest of that process with you. But once you get that confirmation from the library, as long as you go into Canvas, you click on edit, rainbow sprinkles, as we affectionately now call it. You will be quizzed on this by tomorrow if you're coming to tomorrow's training. Mm-hmm. Media gallery, and then look for the library asset here.
Okay, the only other thing I would ask again is that if it's the library does not have it, then what I have to do is bring in the stuff myself physically, right? The DVDs.
Yes, if it's something that you already own. I know there's a whole other process for if it's something that the library doesn't have, you don't have, and like procuring that asset. I don't want to speak offhand because I'm not positive of what that process is. I know that they have it. I would just encourage you to reach out to your subject librarian or reach out to Heather Dalal, the emerging technologies librarian.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Ivan.
Yeah, so I just checked on my January course, which was copied from a previous course, had all of my embedded videos from Illumira, and they're all there playing as Illumira videos. Is that correct? And will it stay that way or something?
So we have insistently requested that Illumira not be shut off anytime soon.
Okay.
For that very reason.
Okay.
I don't foresee Illumira getting shut down for your JTerm course. Okay. That said, obviously, as we all know, Illumira has had its fair share of problems. So as soon as your content is available within Kaltura, I would personally strongly encourage you to go delete the embed from Illumira and re-embed the Kaltura piece.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No problem. Or if you want to hedge your bets, keep both of them embedded, which I'm not necessarily opposed to either.
So I know we're not covering analytics in depth today. Can you just show where they would be found?
Sure. And this is a good plug for, I think, like January 15th, I want to say. But there is a whole slew of analytics and advanced analytics at that available now within Kaltura, and even at a granular student case. And so let's go to a video I'm hoping Quayle may be watching this course, just because if it's only the teacher who watched it. I didn't mean anything mean by that. Don't worry. Do you remember seeing any of these by any chance? Because it looks better if a student watched it. All right. Let's say it's this Zoom via Google Calendar video. If we notice on the right-hand side, I have very subtle little icons here, a trash can, a pencil icon, and a bar chart. If I click on the bar chart, that will actually bring us into the new analytics piece of Kaltura. Okay, this isn't too bad. And so we're going to see some pretty cool data here, especially as students start watching our videos. We're going to see player impressions, which is essentially how many times was the player visible to students? How many times has this video been played? How many unique folks watch this? I wouldn't pay too much attention to that sometimes, because depending on how the student's getting there, it might be counting them twice. How many total minutes have been viewed? And on average, of the students or of the users who start your video, how many of them actually watch the video full? Which I'm going to prep everybody now. The feedback we've received from any other institution we've spoke to on reference calls, and this is not just Kaltura, this was during the whole RFP, it's not as high as maybe we think it is. So prepare yourselves. Especially if your video is over 15 minutes. Actually, especially if your video is over 10 minutes, believe it or not. But I get it. Sometimes 5 to 7 minute lectures are hard to chunk. If I scroll down a bit, oh, excuse me, before I scroll down, let me go up here. I can even search with and look at my analytics kind of either in a very broad scope. So since I've uploaded the media, maybe I just want to look at this past term, or even maybe I just want to look at the past 3 days. Maybe it's final season. I want to go back and see how many students are going back and actually rewatching my lectures as they prepare for their final. With Kaltura, we can do that now. And so we can even specify date ranges for when did students watch this content. If I scroll down a bit, we'll even be able to see when are students dropping off throughout the video. So when are they becoming really disinterested, essentially, as well as over time, how is the player impressions performing? Are students tending to watch the whole thing at the beginning of the semester versus the end of the semester, and so on and so forth. I want to pause for a second and talk about I know we're not talking about analytics today, but before anybody jumps down some rabbit holes, a piece of this. You're going to see where students are watching videos by countries. If you see that students are watching your video in Australia, that does not mean your student is in Australia. VPNs, or virtual private networks, are becoming more and more popular for folks to be able to basically hide their identity. This is especially popular now. Actually, I think Comcast even sells it as an add-on package where they will give your entire Wi-Fi network a VPN. That way it helps stop tracking for websites even. And so if you're having that conversation about buying a new toaster oven, and then you didn't actually search toaster ovens and somehow toaster ovens is appearing anywhere, that's why folks are using VPN. And so don't freak out if you're starting to see some weird data here. And we've also had some feedback that we're actually trying to confirm and also implement a workaround for. If students are using an ad blocker, the analytics are not necessarily picking them up. And so while there actually is a way to be able to drill down and see student by student, I believe, we're not going to be using that as an assessment measure for students, at least within the analytics piece. More on that in the intermediate session. I think we go on that. Other questions?
John, this is someone unmuted? Because I think I can hear a some kind of vacuum cleaner or something. I can hear something that sounds like a robot. I think it's because.
Is it me? Quayle, are you getting it, or?
Sounds like there's a vacuum cleaner or something in the background.
It might be your speakers, actually, Stephen. Is anybody else seeing that? Show of hands.
A little bit. Roberta's unmuted. I don't know if it.
No one's vacuuming here.
I'm just going to mute everybody really quick. You can still unmute yourselves if you wish to. Actually, I can't. Quayle, if you can do that, I don't know why it's not letting me. All right. Other questions? And ironically now, if you have a question, please unmute yourself. We're a little punchy. It's the end of the semester, and we were hoping to have those videos in there for you guys today. So Quayle and I are certainly fit to be rare.
In 2 minutes, you get to close the office. The office.
I'll still be working. Are you kidding?
Including
Yes,
remote
I am
work.
kidding. You know that.
All right, well, As always, if you do have additional questions, you know where to reach us. One piece I do want to go over with everybody to make sure that we're helping prepare everybody as much as we can to get ready for the spring term. We are going to be holding special drop-in hours Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week. The focus of these sessions are really to be on Kaltura, especially as you guys are getting ready for J-term. If you do have other questions about Canvas in general, again, especially for your J-term classes, we really just want to dedicate the time for this collective group of people. Also, special shout out, not everybody here is J-term. A lot of folks, a couple of people are actually early adopter guinea pigs that have agreed to go ahead and start using some of the advanced features for us to kind of help us figure out what we don't know. And so really, in all seriousness, very special thanks to you guys, because it will be a bumpy road as we learn something new, and we really appreciate that. But like I mentioned, December 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And then again, because why not, from 2 to 3:30 p.m. But who knows, because if there's more snow, apparently we're going to close even remote working.
What a great ending.
John, just a quick question. If we're doing J-term and we've got the new 3-week content for the very first time, is it possible to copy or have Quelly or somebody copy over all of the video and announcement content from previous courses, even if they're longer, but not
you can still use
course content?
You can still use the Canvas copy course feature, Stephen. That still works flawlessly. Great. Regardless of how long the semester is.
If you got a 13-week course come in, would it wipe out the new 3-week course content is what I was worried about.
No. Okay, no, it's going to overlap it, basically.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
And the Zoom link is the same link for drop-ins. We didn't change it. I should have mentioned that.
Yeah, I was typing that. I'll include it in the email with the recording, just in case you don't have it, so that you can find it there.
If you came to fall training, you saw when we send the link, we send like a quick 5-question survey type of thing, you know, to tell Quayle and I how awesome we are and whatnot. In all seriousness, if you would not mind filling that out, honestly, it is anonymous for in particular what you think we should change about this basics training. You guys are really the first crew. Quayle and I were finishing up the training last night, even with a couple of tips and tweaks. And so if there's things that you feel that would be better to go over, or maybe don't touch on this as much, it's not important right now, but I really need to know this. This is going to be the introductory training for all of our colleagues. And so please be honest with what you think we should change around. If that is the case, we do appreciate it.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
In the chat, there was an issue that said OIT will be moving all Umnera content to Kaltura for instructors, but then you later said that we should go ahead and we could embed the content in both Kaltura and leave it there and whatever that other thing is. So which is it? Are they is OIT doing it, or are we doing it?
OIT is going to make your content available in My Media.
Yeah.
They're
not embedding.
Okay,
they are not embedding.
So if we have a course, I have a 3-week January course, and I've already put everything in modules, I have to go in and create pages and embed each of those videos?